You know that feeling when you're just thinking about something and then suddenly an ad for it pops up? It's kind of creepy, right? It feels like companies are reading your mind. Well, turns out it's not magic. There is a playbook for that, and today we are going to break it down. I mean, seriously, think about it. Maybe you mentioned to a friend that you need new running shoes, and bam, your entire feed is just flooded with them. It's an experience we've all had, but how does it actually work? Well, it works because companies are in an all-out war for our attention. Get this. Some estimates say the average person sees up to 10,000 ads every single day. That is a staggering amount of noise to cut through. So to get noticed, brands can't just shout louder than everyone else. They have to get smart. They have to whisper the perfect message to the right person at the right time. And to really understand how they do it, we're going to look at the wild comeback story of a Mattel action figure named Max Steel. So yeah, how did this toy go from being kind of a nobody to a total superhero? The answer pulls back the curtain on the exact playbook marketers are using every single day. The whole Max Steel story is pretty wild. So it launches in the US way back in 1999, and it kind of flopped. But here's the twist. It became a massive, massive hit in South America. So when Mattel decided to bring it back to the US more than a decade later, they knew they couldn't just throw it on the shelves and cross their fingers. They had to be way smarter. And here's the really cool part. Their secret weapon wasn't just throwing more money at commercials. Nope. It was a simple, powerful, three-step marketing framework that pretty much any company can use. And this is it. It's called the STP Playbook. It's a simple three-step process. First, you segment the market to find your people. Then, you target the specific group you want to talk to. And finally, you position your product to win a special place in their minds. So let's kick things off with segmentation. All right, first up, segmentation. You can think of this as the detective work. It's all about finding clues to group different kinds of people together. The big idea here is so important. You cannot be all things to all people. It just doesn't work. Segmentation is what stops a brand from just yelling into a giant faceless crowd, and instead helps them have a real conversation with smaller groups who actually care about the same things. It's all about focus. So, one of the most basic ways to segment is by geography. The where. Starbucks is a perfect example. A Starbucks in Beijing is not the same as one in Boston. In China, you might find a red bean green tea frappuccino. In Taiwan, they might have something totally different based on local tastes. It's the same global brand, but it's tailored to the location. Okay, next is demographics. This is the who. We're talking about stuff you can measure, like age, gender, and a really big one, income. Mercedes-Benz has this down to a science. They don't just sell one expensive car. They have the A-Class for people just getting into luxury, all the way up to the S-Class for their wealthiest clients. Different models for different income levels. Then we get to behavioral segmentation. This is all about the how people use a product or what benefit they're looking for. Just think about the toothpaste aisle. It's overwhelming, right? That's because you're not just buying toothpaste. You're buying whitening or cavity prevention or tartar control. Crest makes a different product for each of those specific needs. This famous quote from the legendary Harvard professor Theodore Levitt, it just nails it. It gets to the heart of the final and maybe the most powerful type of segmentation. It's not about the thing itself. It's about what the thing does for you. It's about the real motivation. And that brings us to psychographics, the why. This goes deeper. It's not just who you are, but why you make the choices you do. It's all about your lifestyle, your values, your personality. A perfect example is IKEA's furniture buyback program. That's not aimed at everyone who needs a bookshelf. It's aimed specifically at a group of people who truly value sustainability. Okay, so once you've sliced up the entire market into these neat little groups, you can't go after all of them. You've got to choose your slice of the pie. And that brings us to step 2, targeting. Now, there are a few ways to go about this. You could try to target the whole pie, an undifferentiated strategy like Coca-Cola tries to do. Or you could pick a few key slices like Nike does. They target runners, young athletes, women. Or you can get really focused and go after just one slice, a concentrated strategy, like how Lush Cosmetics targets people who want ethical products. You can even go super narrow with micro-marketing, targeting individuals, like Stitch Fix does with personalized styling. But hang on, here's a super important distinction that a lot of people miss. The person who actually uses your product isn't always the person who buys it. And Lego is the absolute master of this. Their target market, obviously, it's kids. They're the ones playing with the bricks. But their target audience? That's the parents, the ones with the money. So if you watch Lego's ads, they're not just about fun and games. They're always talking about educational benefits, creativity, problem solving, all the stuff that appeals directly to the parents who are making the buying decision. It's genius. Okay, on to the final step. You've found your groups, you've chosen your target. Now you have to win the battle for a specific space inside their head. This, my friends, is positioning. Positioning is 100% about perception. It's about occupying a piece of real estate in your customer's mind. It's deciding exactly how you want people to think and feel about your product compared to all the other options they have. You're basically creating an identity. And there are a couple of classic ways to do this. You can go head-to-head, which is what Avis did against Hertz back in the day. They couldn't say they were number one, so they embraced being number two with that legendary slogan, "We try harder." Or you can choose to differentiate. Curves Fitness didn't try to compete with Gold's Gym. Instead, they created a whole new category, a gym designed just for women. They carved out their own space instead of fighting in an already crowded one. So this playbook, segmentation, targeting, positioning, it is incredibly powerful. But with great power comes, well, you know the rest. It's really important we talk about the ethical lines that can get crossed here. Yeah, this kind of precise targeting brings up some really serious questions. For instance, think about advertising to young kids who can't tell the difference between a cartoon and a commercial. Or what about the constant marketing of sugary snacks and fast food? And then there's the danger of digital profiling. Facebook actually got sued by the US government because its ad tools let companies exclude people by race from seeing ads for things like housing and jobs. It just goes to show how careful we have to be with these tools. So from the comeback of Max Steel to Lego to that ad that felt like it read your mind this morning, it's all part of the same playbook: segment, target, position. It's not magic. It's a very deliberate strategy. And now that you know how it works, the next time an ad pops up, you can look at it differently. Ask yourself, who are they segmenting? Who are they targeting? And what little piece of my brain are they trying to own?